Welcome to this edition of the 411 Talk Song Radio Show. My name is Leon Jones. Tonight I'm going to continue my Black History Month series. I'm going to talk about Miss Claudette Colvin. Claudette Colvin was born on September 5th, 1939 in Montgomery, Alabama. Months before Rosa Parks, Colvin stood up to segregation in Alabama in 1955. Growing up in one of Montgomery's poorer neighborhoods, Colvin studied art at school. She earned mostly A's in her classes and even aspired to become president one day. Now, here's the issue with Miss Colvin. She was riding home on a city bus when a bus driver told her to give up her seat to a white passenger, and she believed that it was her constitutional right to sit there as much as anybody because she paid her fare. Colvin was arrested on several charges, including violating the city's segregation laws. For several hours, she sat in jail. And of course, if you sit in jail, you're definitely going to be afraid because you don't know what white folks, particularly in that day, they were going to do. And again, as I mentioned in last night's video, the Ku Klux Klan was very strong. And in the South, there were a lot of lynchings. So if you were African American, you basically walked a tight rope. Now, the real problem that I struggle with in this case is she didn't get much notoriety. Rosa Parks did. Now, I'm going to tell you why she didn't get much notoriety, and it's unfair. It's because she got pregnant and Rosa Parks was married. Her being pregnant, having a child out of wedlock, she was also 15 years old when she stood up to segregation. So she was basically a little girl, pregnant, of course, no husband, and the NAACP thought that there would be a lot of negative press. And of course, in those days, you were shunned if you had children out of wedlock. Unlike today, where some women are heroines for having babies out of wedlock. Now, when Colvin went to court, she opposed the segregation law by declaring herself not guilty. The court, however, ruled against her, basically put her on probation. Despite the light sentence, Colvin could not escape the court of public opinion. The once quiet student was branded a troublemaker by some, and she dropped out of college. Her reputation made it impossible for her to find a job. Now, despite her personal challenges, Colvin became one of the four plaintiffs in the Browder versus Gale case. Other participants were Aurelia S. Browder, Susie McDonald, Mary Louise Smith. Now, Janetta Reese, who was named a plaintiff in the case, withdrew early due to outside pressure. Now, the decision in the 1956 case, which had been filed by Fred Gray and Charles D. Langford on behalf of aforementioned African American women, ruled that Montgomery's segregated bus system was unconstitutional. 2 years later, Colvin moved to New York City, where she had her second child, Randy, and she worked as a nurse's aide and retired in 2004. Now, much of the civil rights history in Montgomery has focused on the arrest of Rosa Parks, another woman who refused to give up her seat on a bus 9 months later after Colvin. While Parks has been heralded as a civil rights heroine, the story of Claudette Colvin has received little notice. Some have tried to change that. Rita Dove penned the poem Claudette Goes to Work, which later became a song. Philip Hughes also wrote about her in the young adult biography Claudette Colvin, Twice Toward Justice. While her role in the end to end segregation in Montgomery may not be widely recognized, Colvin helped advance civil rights efforts in the city. Claudette gave all of the city moral courage. And if she had not done what she did, I am not sure, even as a black man, I would be supporting Rosa Parks. Of course, I do respect Rosa Parks. But the reason Rosa Parks, let's give my personal opinion, got more respect than Miss Colvin is because Miss Colvin wasn't married. In fact, she had a child out of wedlock. This is why she dropped out of school, because of her reputation as well, and she grew up in a poor neighborhood. But moving forward, civil rights has always been an event that created black leaders, no matter if they were Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks. One thing that is clear: in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way up to the 60s, I still have to appreciate those who came before me, because the Ku Klux Klan was strong in those decades. There were other events that black people had made positive for themselves, like Black Wall Street. But this incident, it was very big. It should have gotten more notoriety, regardless of the circumstance. When you are a teenager sitting in jail, you don't know what's going to happen to you, particularly in the South, and white supremacy was very strong, unlike the North. If you saw movies like Mississippi Burning, it should tell you right then and there. If you saw what happened to Emmett Till, again in Mississippi, that should give you an indication how rough it was in the South for black people. Moving on. Segregation during the Jim Crow eras was part of the events of history. Besides, even though blacks were suffering, they were working to try to alleviate some of the segregation laws. In the end, they did. It took time. But what makes the blacks different in the past than today, they believed in something. And they made it easy for people like myself. And I always tell you that young folk today really don't relish that history because they don't really care about it. You know why? Because it hasn't affected them. And there are some younger generations who believe that the older generations have done nothing but talk. Certainly, you've had your talkers. But a number of the leaders, whether men or women, in black history who were black, marched and got sore feet. So today's African Americans could get a shot at having an education, being doctors, being lawyers, being engineers. But we forget that. And today's youth only bring up slavery when they feel that they're being treated unfairly. If you want to understand what real racism is, start reading books on Selma, Alabama. Read books on Miss Colvin. In fact, we talk about Rosa Parks, but I did a video on another lady yesterday. Her name was Irene Morgan Kirkcaldy. Believe it or not, the same bus incident took place in the South, in Gloucester, Virginia. She was on her way home to Baltimore. But this incident took place 11 years before Colvin and Parks. That case got no respect. Wasn't even heard. In fact, until I looked up Miss Caldy, I never even heard of her. I never even heard of Miss Colvin as well. The only person I heard of was Rosa Parks. Not taking anything from Rosa Parks, but when I talk about these three ladies, they were all teenagers. In fact, Miss Colvin is still living. Miss Kirkcaldy died 10 years ago, and of course Rosa Parks died 15 years ago, right around that area. But what I'm trying to explain to you is these are the people who are older people, who some of the young folk who are African Americans have said the older generations didn't do anything. Let me tell you something. As black people, if it weren't for the older generation, guess what? I wouldn't have a right to vote. I wouldn't have a right to go to college. Certainly they had HBCUs in the past. They had black fraternities and black sororities in the past. But I would probably have far less than I do now. But when you put faith and when you put your mind together, you can achieve no matter how hard it is. Civil rights activism that was part of black history took work. It took a lot of energy, and it took sacrifice. Now, the reason why I believe that some black people today wouldn't be able to have the stomach for it is because they're selfish. Why? Because they believe everything should be given to them on a silver platter. When you get down to the summation of any issue, smart and hard work with a direction, with financing, and proper organization will get you where you want to go. But you have to want to achieve it. Now, we have some smart African American people today who want to move forward. But the way we're going to move forward is we have to remember what happened in the past, good or bad. And honestly, we have to start understanding our education system. Now, I do these videos on Black History Month because there's certain people that a number of us didn't know about while we were in school because we were taught about all of the popular figures like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks. We forget that there were other achievers and contributors to black history. And the only way you're going to find out who they were is you have to not be intellectually lazy. It takes research. And it also takes motivation from within yourself, whether you care to look up some of these black figures. I wanted to know if there were more incidents that took place with riding a bus. Because being in school, learning U.S. history, and even going to an African American school in Richmond, Virginia, known as Virginia Union University, that's all I ever heard was Rosa Parks. And I'm 52 years old, living here in Portage, Indiana, and it took that long for me to find out that there were other incidents that had taken place. And I am happy to present two videos from two ladies that should have been mentioned but weren't mentioned because of the circumstance. Having a baby out of wedlock, and the first lady, Miss Kirkcaldy, it was just swept under the rug. But as African Americans, we need to start focusing on our identity that was stripped from us. We can get it back. But the only way we're going to get it back is educate ourselves. And we must stop trying to live the Eurocentric way. It doesn't work for us. We're not from England. Our ancestry was from Africa. That's why, if you look at the black man and black woman, we are genetically superior to all other races. Here's why. I can look at black women, black men, white women, and white men when they age. Even though blacks will get gray hair, their skin is still smooth. Their melanin is strong. Whereas white folk age early. And by the time they're 70, if they haven't put enough Botox in their system, they're going to be wrinkled. That doesn't happen with black people. You look at Lena Horne. In other words, black women and black men still maintain their attractiveness. But that's besides the point. Let me stay on this topic with the issue of Claudette Colvin. Claudette Colvin was a civil rights leader as well. And I'm here to give her my respects, and she's still living. And I want to thank her for what she did as well. Because I know, as a black man, I always hear that women didn't do anything to be part of the civil rights movement. That's not true. What she did should be appreciated by all of us. And the good thing about black history, regardless of what took place, you start to get a better idea of who you are. And if you watch my videos during Black History Month, you'll be able to connect the dots. Because what you're going to find out is you're going to be presented information that you never heard before. And at the end of the day, you will be more interested in black history. And see, when you have a public school system, a college system that doesn't go into depth, most of us, when we get our diplomas, we think that's the end of our education. Education is ongoing. People who want to learn go further. People who don't want to learn become complacent. And this is why you can't grow. So I'm calling all African Americans who are interested in black history, spend a little more time getting educated. Black History Month is important. However, if you don't take it seriously, just get rid of the month. I mean, we already have the shortest month of the year. Take advantage of it. Learn your history. If you have grandmothers, if you have mothers and fathers still living, go and ask them. Because when I look at Miss Colvin, a 15-year-old in Alabama, she sat in jail. I'm 52 years old and I'd be scared to death to be in jail. Brought up on segregation charges. Now that's what Jim Crow laws and racism did. Is it racist today? Certainly we have racism, but not like the Jim Crow laws were. It was actually written in the books. You look at all the water fountains, you look, black people had to be in the back of everything. And I thank Miss Colvin, Miss Rosa Parks, and Miss Kirkcaldy. Because the biggest thing that they did for us, you think about this when you're a black man and woman and you're riding on a city bus, whether it's a school bus, a municipal bus, or a shuttle bus. When you get off work and you're tired, remember, you don't have to sit in the back anymore. In fact, with Miss Kirkcaldy, it was strange because she actually sat in the back of the bus. And that was the rule. And she was still jailed with a warrant. Where Miss Rosa Parks and Miss Colvin, they refused to move and they were in the front of the bus. So you really had two different instances. But if you tie all three of these issues together, you get one issue. And the issue was segregation. It doesn't matter whether you were in the front of the bus or the back of a bus as a black person. Whenever there was a white person, you had to give up your seat. That, my friends, is unconstitutional. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show for this evening, Wednesday, February 15th, 2017. You can tune in to the 411 Talk Zone radio show every Monday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. Guest call-in number is 215-383-5785. And if you like my videos, please share and subscribe to the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube so I can give you education. That's right. I'm giving you education for free, no donations, but you're getting it from a professional and mature perspective. Because on this channel, I don't engage in debates, controversial, or social issues. However, if there's an issue that does sound like it's social, I'm utilizing it for education. I promote dialogue because a diversity of ideas helps you grow. So what I'm doing, I'm giving you the tools that you need to apply to make it in the real world, because it is challenging. So I keep everything realistic and positive. And if you have a business or a topic that you would like for me to talk about right here on Blog Talk Radio or YouTube, please email me at lej6521@gmail.com. And if you have a comment, and I love comments, leave your comment in the comment section under the video. But you got to make sure that your comments are pithy. No bloviating, pettifogging, or filibustering if you wish to opine. And you know what time it is? It's time for some shout-outs. Let me give a shout-out to some of my newer YouTubers that I've been socializing with. Conscious Effort. Shout out to Rashawn DeLay. Shout out to Karen Kennedy. Shout out to Sonny Pooh. Reg the Bad Guy. The Real Deal from Gary, Indiana. Big Body Matt Coley. Q Wilson. And the Healing Palace. If you want to get your name on that list, again, you just email me at lej6521@gmail.com. Because what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to build a circle that I can collaborate with and we can learn from one another. Because again, remember, knowledge is power. And that's it for this video. Till next time. My name is Leon Jones. Remember, please be gentle and respectful to each other. And have a wonderful and blessed night. Good night.